during this, psoriasis, treated from, for several decades. I mean, they do light therapy, that, obviously the cortical cream, the anti-inflammatories. You went through all of that. At any point, I'm assuming, at any point did anybody discuss with you diet or lifestyle or anything? Was that really pushed on you much by any of the physicians?
None of the mainstream doctors that I went to talked about anything to do with diet.
Yeah, even the IBS, which is a gut issue.
Yeah, IBS. One of the guys that I had, the gastro guy, said you're going to have to basically deal with it, and they gave me medication for it. I can't remember. I have a medication over here that I was taking, and that basically what it was is, I think they said it was for lowering cholesterol, but it also binds to stomach bile. And there's no side effects to it. He said, you just take it. It's kind of like, tastes like Tang, orange.
Maybe cholestyramine or something like that, perhaps.
Pardon me?
Maybe cholestyramine or something like that. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And then that basically helped me get through a day. But not, oh, you got to change your food. I did go to a few naturopaths and other ways to try and deal with certain things. And I did go on the Candida diet, remove all I did also go and go gluten-free, and that did help a little bit. So there were different things that triggered myself, and I sort of self-diagnosed through most of it because there's the main avenues that I go through. They're going, no, it's this, or you're going to go to a specialist. They pump air into you, scope you out. Yeah, well, you got nothing like that. I didn't test positive for Crohn's. I didn't test positive for celiac. So stay away from the stuff that seems to trigger it, and you make the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously you've got this, the HLA B27, is well associated with ankylosing spondylitis. If people don't know what that is, it affects the axial skeleton, so the spine, the sacroiliac joints, the scapula, the neck, and it can be very problematic, and become very fragile. It's easy to fracture bones and stuff like that. So as far as functionally, were you still working? What were you able to do at this point?
I was using crutches to walk. I was still working, but I did transition to doing a lot of work from home. I had it lucky that the company I was working with did not have a good website presence, so I did a lot of web work so I could work from home. So that gave me at least some employment, and I didn't have to. Otherwise, if I had to do daily go to work and walk around and do anything like that physically, I would not have been able to do it. I would have been on short-term or long-term disability just to get through.
And the crutches, because you mentioned you had psoriasis, and ankylosing spondylitis, usually it's the back typically. Were you having affected joints in the extremities? Was it psoriatic arthritis on top of the psoriasis, or what was going on?
My hands, the joints in my hands, feet, knees, like any joint. The only thing that I didn't have is the hip. I don't know if it's rotator cuff, but the hip movement through the legs. That part didn't give me any pain, but just above it along the belt line was incredibly painful. So there was pain in everything. And then it also, like through the skin of the hands and stuff like that and arms, that was like skin and immune issue where just the pain manifests itself in the hands and skin.
And so, you have cracking skin, maybe bleeding, things like that. Is that going on?
Yeah, no, the psoriasis, the funny thing is the psoriasis was a lot less at last year and a half ago. It was, I would say, more elbows, shoulders, the main torso, not so much in the joints. The legs as well was strong. But the rheumatologist kind of said to me that it's most likely that the psoriasis is working itself instead of through the skin into the joints. So this was the next stage, so to speak, of what you can expect with a long bout of psoriasis.
I bet those are just fun discussions, aren't they?
Sure is, going home after that and going, okay, so now instead of being the skin, it's going to be the joints. Yeah. I'd prefer the skin personally, even though it doesn't make you want to go to the beach or anywhere in public. And that was a mental toughness through especially the dating years, and teenagers and later on in life, because I would hear people say, oh, I got a pimple. And I'm like, seriously, you're worried about a pimple? Yeah. Here, let me take my shirt off. And then you tell me if you still want to go into the swimming pool with somebody like that. So I didn't do a lot of that. I did we did go as a family a lot to Hawaii. Thank goodness we had that as an option. And it always got better with surf and sunshine. Like there was a lot of bettering that way. But it would come and go. And I guess I don't know fully why my psoriasis, maybe it was also stress related, food related, and how the stomach biome was working. But it would sometimes kind of go away to almost like, hey, there's some sign of, hey, I'm going to be good. And then wham, it would come back like a freight train. And then it would just take over. And it didn't matter what I did or what I stopped eating. It would come. It's like the waves, up and down and up and down. And that's kind of, you never knew. So you'd always have to be on your edge.
Yeah, I mean, it could be some food trigger, it could be some stress, emotion, temperature, whatever triggers all these things that are occurring. When you're on these medications, the immune modulating drugs and stuff like that, did that help at all? I mean, were you getting some relief with some of these things?
Well, funny that you say that. Is in February, when they said we're going to put you on these medications, those ones specifically immune suppressants and stuff like that, they said I was at that point where I didn't know. And that's where I stumbled upon your podcast with Joe Rogan. And also I saw the TED Talks from Michaela Peterson and what she went through. And I was like, okay, before I go on this medication, I said to my rheumatologist, give me a month before I go in, because I read the side effects of everything. Why don't I do that? Because I mean, the pain suppressant and the anti-inflammatories did get me through the day. So if I took them, it was great, as in great. I got through the day. If I didn't take them, it wasn't good. So they were helping. I didn't take that super bad immune suppressant. So that's why I was like, all right, I got one chance here. I'm going to do the carnivore diet for 30 days. And then I'll go back to my rheumatologist and say either I'm good or I'm not good. And that's when on March the 3rd, I said, that's it. I'm going hardcore. I don't give a heck what goes on. And I put my calendar on the wall and started crossing off the days.
So this is March 3rd of 2021, 2022?
2022.
So recently. So we're less than a year out from this. Okay. So,
yeah. I was 5 months basically at that point with chronic pain.